Ashley Vance. Now, just as a way of introduction for you a little bit with Ashley. Ashley, you started singing with us, I don't know how long it was, probably a couple weeks before the pandemic hit.
Yeah, I don't think we had any in person. I started when we were online.
Never mind.
So,
See,
yeah.
wow, what a year, 2020. Okay,
Yeah.
so Ashley started with us while we were online. So a lot of you see Ashley, you've heard Ashley, duh, right? It's beautiful singing. But yeah, it's true. Come on. But a lot of us don't know who Ashley is. So I thought today, man, what a better time to just kind of give you a moment to know who Ashley Vance is, how, in my heart, how crucial and important she is in the life of worship in our church. How much of a blessing you've been to us already. And I don't say that to sound good on a camera. I'm dead serious. It's a joy. So I'm just going to ask you a couple questions just so people can get to know you.
Sure.
So, you're Ashley Vance.
Yes, I am.
Where do you come from?
I am from a lot of places. I call Arizona my home. I'm from California. That's where I was born. Lived there for a while. Lived in Phoenix throughout middle school, high school. And then my family's lived in Atlanta and D.C. We're now in D.C. But now I call Nashville home since I have settled here for at least the time being. But
she truly is. When Peter writes, 1 Peter says, to all the aliens scattered abroad. No, that's James. Ashley is the perfect.
From all over. Yes.
All over. You embody the dispersion. It's good. Well, cool. Okay. So today, really, we want to introduce you and just kind of talk to you and get your heart so people can know you.
Yeah.
But we also want to branch deeper just a little bit into worship. Sunday and Wednesdays is when we gather together and we corporately worship online and now in person too. But I just kind of want to dive in a little bit today on like what are we doing? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Sometimes, and perhaps you feel this way too, I know I have in the past, that I know I need to be gathered in worship. I know in Hebrews it says that, don't forsake the gathering together and stirring each other up to good deeds. But if I had to be totally honest, I don't know if anyone ever just sat down and told me, like, why are you here? What's the point of you being here? And we'll take it musically. Why do we sing? Why do we do that? Okay, so we're going to kind of jump into that a little bit. But before we do, I want to ask you another question.
Okay.
Since being here at GFUMC,
Okay.
can you kind of describe your time here, what you've experienced being, I call her my co-worship leader. She's not mine, but it's just I have this partnership of like, wow, so cool.
Yeah.
But your experience leading worship here with us and all that.
Okay.
Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so I started online, like I said, so that was a really interesting beginning because I got to meet, all the band members and Pastor James and everybody who was still here. But I didn't get to meet any of the congregation, so it was definitely like I had to get used to talking into a camera and remembering that everybody was still there.
I'm still not used to that.
It is weird, yeah. It's still super weird, but it's getting easier. But it was nice when we had those outside services at Douglas Chapel because I was finally able to kind of meet some people and be like, oh, okay, like we're putting a face to a name, and now people are like, oh, this is Ashley. Yeah. So that was really nice, and it's just been so encouraging because everybody that I've met has been so loving and kind and welcoming, and it's just, I think this is just a great body of people and a great church, and I've been looking for a home church for a while, and this has definitely done that for me. So I'm really happy to be here, and everybody that I've met has been so awesome. So I really love all of you, and I'm so happy to be here. And just my experience in worship, I think I like to define things in one word, just like cover it with one. Yeah. And I'll talk about that more later probably too. But that's cool. Growth, I think, has been the word for me for the past couple months. Yeah. I think especially, for all of us, we've been in such a weird time with a pandemic and with everything going on. And I think that it's really pushed me and challenged me to press in to who God is and who what his character is and what that's defined as. And I know that he's definitely been reciprocating that, me seeking, and he is definitely coming after me as well. Awesome. And I've definitely had a lot of moments here in worship where we're singing and we're praising God and worshiping and declaring that truth over our lives, and it's like, yeah, this is true. That's why we do this, is because it's true, and we declare that over our lives and who he is. So I would definitely say that this has been a wonderful period of growth and just learning more about God I would not call myself a theologian, but I'm definitely a lifetime learner. So
Hey,
yeah,
that's cool.
I'm learning more and more about God and about scripture and how it correlates to music. And I've always been passionate about music and art and how emotional and vulnerable it leads us to be so that we can experience the fullness of God. So
Oh, that's well said.
thank you.
Okay,
Yeah.
so for all of you who don't know, I had the privilege of being Ashley's voice teacher. Not for anything. She taught me more than I think I taught her. But it's so cool to see a couple of years later. Like how long? Or did we
did
2
lessons
years?
for 2 years. Yeah.
Okay, so 2 years of that, and then Ashley goes away and graduates, and it's like, oh, and then she's back to see you now.
Yeah.
It's so cool. So it's really special for me to say that is Ashley really has what she just said, always been passionate about art. And she would talk about that when we would study together, and at Trevecca, she would always mention this, we're making art. And as someone who is very systematic, I am very beak when it comes to singing and music. Ashley kind of helped my heart open up to the idea and to the reality that when we sing and when we are engaging in worship and in music and worship together, really, we're engaging in like a gift that God has given. The way I think of it is the frequencies that we're playing with. That's why we say we're playing music. The frequencies that we're playing with and putting together and creating sonorities, right? Harmonies and all these things. It's telling of the inherent structure and the character and the never-changing nature of God. What you just said, for example, for all you musicians and those who aren't, you can hang with us for just a minute. It's this. I expect every time a perfect fifth to be a perfect fifth. If I'm in tune and I play a C to a G, I expect that to sound a certain way.
Yeah.
To me, that is telling of the Lord has set into motion these inherent qualities that Paul even says in Romans chapter 1 that his eternal nature is seen through nature.
Yeah.
Music is part of that. And we as musicians and as we sing together as a congregation, we get to jump into that gift and play or be a part of his creation. And then also we get to arrange and do different things with those harmonies in our return of worship. So it's super cool. It's super cool to think about and really cool to participate in. So now knowing a little bit about Ashley, and she's so cool, and the more we're together, the more you'll know her, and it's exciting. I really want to look just real quick at John chapter 4 and Jesus in worship. Kind of what I said at the beginning of this broadcast is we come to worship, and sometimes if you're like me or you've grown up in an atmosphere like mine, it's like you know that's what you do, but the question is why. And sometimes that can linger. Have you ever felt that?
Yeah, for sure.
Or, it's like, I know it's good, and I know it's true,
Right.
which is but why?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, in John chapter 4, Jesus is talking to someone you might know, the woman at the well. Okay, so they've already had their encounter where Jesus is, hey, I know you've had 5 husbands, and the one you're living with now, or 4, the one you're living with now is not your husband. She's like, you're a prophet. You know what I mean? Like, you've told me everything I've ever done.
Yeah.
Jesus in this moment says something beautiful about worship. We're going to draw into this and then we'll end here. Okay?
Yeah.
Okay. He makes this statement. He says to this Samaritan woman, and there's a lot of historical context and stuff here, so just hang with me on that. It says, John chapter 4, verse 22, you worship what you do not know. We worship what we know, for salvation is from the Jews. Just real quick context on that. He's not downplaying. He's just saying there's a big difference between what the Samaritans believed and what the Jewish worshipers of Yahweh believed. Okay, so there's a big difference, and Jesus is just saying what you've been a part of and what you've been inherited from your forefathers. Jesus in love just says that's actually not what is going to save you. He says salvation, really, I want you to know, is from the Jews. And it's so cool because who's talking to her? The salvation of God.
Right.
He's just drawing her in. He's marvelous. But then, this is the part. But an hour is coming, verse 23, and now is, and that's huge, now is, so it's present, now is, when the true worshipers will worship the Father in spirit and truth. For such people the Father seeks to be his worshipers. God is spirit, and those who worship him must worship in spirit and truth. How many times did I say worship? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, look at this. It says, hour is coming when true worshipers will worship. Father seeks to be worshipers. Those who worship him must worship. That's 5 times Jesus uses this word worship in 2 verses. So the heart of this passage is really, what is worship? Like, the Father is seeking someone.
Mm.
And I'll make this really short and then we'll just break down on it for a second.
Yeah.
Is this. The word Jesus is using for worship, this has caught my attention. It gives me the why I'm here worshiping. And it's this. He says this word proskuneo, which means it's this leaning towards the pronoun. Skuneo is this to kiss. And worship at its core, this word that Jesus is using, is those who bow low and forward to something they view as worthy to kiss it, which is an outward expression of an inward affection. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so with that happening, Jesus is saying the Father is seeking worshipers, those who will, from the inside out, bow low, lean in, and deem the one who is worthy, who's true, worthy of my kiss, of my affection. Jesus is saying those who seek to worship the Father must worship in spirit, in what you said, and in truth.
Mm-hmm.
God is spirit. Those who worship him must worship in spirit and in truth. What is real? What did he tell the Samaritan woman at the beginning? It was, you're not worshiping the right thing.
Right.
You don't know what you're worshiping. So Jesus handles the truth part. Truth is actually coming from Yahweh.
Mm-hmm.
But then he says, but God himself is spirit. You must worship in that. What does that mean? You must be filled with him
Mm-hmm.
to actually receive the affections, to be renewed
Yeah.
through salvation to worship God.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
We do that. Talk about it for just a second. Your eyes are so alive. You're
no,
like,
this is so good.
it's cool.
I love this whole passage, connects and strings itself together in so many different ways. And when we talk about what worship means and how it means leaning in and kissing somebody, what I think of is we wouldn't do that to somebody that we don't know. So if Jesus is saying we worship who we know, and we're leaning in and kissing who we know, then we, as our act of worship, are reflecting upon, yes, we know who you are, and in that worshiping in spirit and in truth, we're declaring that, yes, we know you and we love you, therefore we worship you. So I think, and like I said earlier, like sometimes I focus in on one word, and I was raised in the church as well, and I've been worshiping for a long time. And kind of like you said, sometimes we're like, well, why are we doing this? And I think recently I've really been learning that if I just focus in on who I know and what do I know about God and what do I know about the character of God that I know is to be true and that I love about him, then I can focus in on that one thing and then like surround that in my worship. And I can think of the past month probably peace, grace, freedom. Those words kind of have been like, okay,
I told you were prophetic. I told her, I said, Ashley, you have a prophetic gifting.
Man.
She's like, I'm like, go ahead.
But yeah, so like I sometimes, when we're practicing beforehand or when we're praying beforehand, a word will come to me and I'll think, okay, this is the word for the day. This is what I'm thinking about today. This is the characteristic of God that I'm surrounding myself in today as I lean in
That's awesome.
and kiss him. Yeah, so it's
Wow,
awesome.
that's a great preparation.
Yeah. So it's so nice because there's no pressure really for us to be up there, and I used to think that there was, and that we had to be a certain thing. And I'm like I said, I'm not a theologian. I'm not I don't know every scripture there is to know. But if I know I'm praying and we're seeking God and we know who he is, and I can just hone in on, okay, I know that God is this, I know that he's grace, freedom, peace, then you can lean in and be like, well, I love that about you, and so I'm going to sing about that.
Oh, that's so good.
Yeah.
Truth informs your worship.
Yes.
That's so good. Okay, so we're going to wrap it up.
Yeah.
I don't have much more to say after that. That was really great. But I'll just make an observation. What Ashley was just saying is that truly our worship is Jesus-centered.
Right.
It's been revealed to us, and this is the truth, that the fullness of God has come in Christ. Not part, not halfway, but Jesus, it says in Colossians 1:15, he is the image of the invisible God.
Yeah.
The one we can't put eyes on, the one we can't, the mysterium, who Jesus revealed for all time. And I think the beauty of what you're saying too is And he's given us this beautiful gift that he's revealed himself through his scriptures. So if there's ever a question of, well, I don't know who you are, well, where do you come to find that?
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
He's just bound himself up in a love book towards us. Like, this is who I am.
Yeah.
And even if it's hard to swallow sometimes, the severity of God, Paul talks about, those are things that we have to jump into still, because we're exploring and we're diving into this one, this being who has eternally wrapped himself up in the face of Jesus.
Right.
It's God-centered, it's God-focused, and it's him glorifying. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I love, and we'll end with this, as a worship leader here at Gallatin and with Ashley, and I know if we were all together, James Story would be in the room, my brother and my friend. I love you, James. I hope you watch this. You're the best, man. I miss you. But is this, there is no pressure. There is no performance in any of this. If there's one thing we harp on, right, in rehearsal and in something, it's like we refuse to perform to do a show.
Right.
It's just we're not into that. Rather, we're here with you as a body. We get to every week just gather ourselves together and gather ourselves around the face of Jesus.
Right.
Who is he? We will worship him, and we will give ourselves over to this great one who's revealed himself for all time. Man, I've so enjoyed this, and I hope you have too. I hope it's been encouraging to you. I hope it's given you at least some kind of impetus to jump into the why we do what we do. Why are we together? Why are we worshiping this mighty one named Jesus? I hope this has informed that, and thanks for joining me. Yeah, this is so cool, man. Well, next week I think we'll have Pastor James, and we'll just carry on. If you would, please, if this has resonated with you, or if this has meant anything to you or helped you, we just encourage you, share this video with someone who you think would be impacted by the love of God, okay? Leave a comment, let us know that it was helpful for you. Not to encourage us, we're all good, we're encouraged, but rather maybe share what was profound to you that might stir someone else as well. Cool?
Cool.
Yeah, you can also email Pastor James oh no, what's his email?
Oh.
It's on the website. It's on the website, okay? You can go to fumcgallatin.org, go to staff, and you can leave an email to Pastor James. He enjoys receiving your comments and all that. Cool?
Awesome.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, love you guys. We love each other. We love Jesus. We're in this together. Let's continue in our worship and grow in him more and more every day.
Cool.
Thanks for joining us on Breakout, okay? We'll see you next time.
Yeah, bye.
Bless you.